Good evening from St. Augustine's Parish in the heart of Coral Gables. Although, you know, probably Father Manny at Little Flower would say, he'd probably say that he's the heart of Coral Gables. Do you think we're the heart of Coral Gables?
I think there's different valves in the heart, right? So maybe like all together.
Look how political she is, like how beautiful she packages that. Yeah, I think that we're the heart of Coral Gables. I'm gonna just say that. But we have a great show for you tonight.
It's part of our logo.
Yeah, that's right.
We should get some, points for that.
Well, I think that because it's in our logo, I think we should just tell people that we're the heart of Coral Gables. And I think that if parishioners spread that, it'll
catch.
Yeah, it'll catch. We're trendsetters. Anyway, tonight we have Sean Forrest. I think that's like an English name, right? 2 R's, Forrest. But he's gonna, real serious talk. We've been having a good time here before we went on live, but he is gonna talk about some serious topics. Something that's very important today. I know in my life I have people that I love who are dealing with loss and suffering. And so Sean is gonna talk to us a little bit about how to have peace while embracing and entering into that suffering. So I'm excited to talk to him. He's a speaker, coach, musician, missionary. And you were saying to me before we went on that you actually visited his orphanage in Haiti.
Yep, he has an orphanage in Haiti. And actually my first mission trip to Haiti was to his orphanage, which is called Haiti 180. And it was a transforming trip for me. And then since then, my heart kind of stayed in Haiti. So I've had a great love for Haiti since that experience of being on mission, particularly at his orphanage. So
it's
super excited to have him
powerful. Those orphanages are so powerful. I visited one when I was in Port-au-Prince, visiting the Mother Teresa sisters, and it's the saddest thing. Beautiful because the sisters are doing such great work, but every day someone would drop off a baby. I'm talking a little tiny baby or a toddler to their front door. And I remember they need so many volunteers to help with the feeding and changing of diapers, and our whole team was there. And we were, it was just an incredible experience. But I remember one baby in particular, like I grabbed it to feed it, and it was just like holding on so tight, and I had to go to the next baby and like remove and it's like he didn't want to let go. It was like starved for love and affection, and it's just very sad, but a lot of great work, and I'm excited to hear about that as well.
Hopefully he'll share about his orphanage too, because his setup is a new way of doing orphanage too. It's very beautiful. It's a very Catholic home, and they're forming like real men and women of the faith. So it's beautiful.
Well, I hope we can talk a little bit about that. I got a lot of good feedback from Dr. Carol Raza's presentation, and it went so well with Dr. Bob Schute's presentation. And a lot of parishioners, even through confession and some of the talks that we've been having, really resonated with what they were saying. That one, healthy fear, and then a toxic fear, how that can just really mess up someone's life. And then what Carol was talking about, the whole holistic approach to spirituality, understanding where you're at and how can you grow in holiness. So.
And having that foundation.
Having that foundation, so important. You know, I went to Father Sergio Carrillo's funeral this week. He was the first Black priest that was ordained for the Archdiocese of Miami. And he's such a nice guy. I met him when I was at St. Michael's, and holy priest, just always working and wonderful. And he was such a great patriot for Cuba. He fought in the Bay of Pigs, and at his funeral, there was some of the guys that were with him there in the invasion of Bay of Pigs, and giving such great stories. I wanted to continue to hear them talk about that event and what this young man, who was not a priest yet, what he did, and just incredible. So this week we had that. Talking about St. Michael's, we're gonna have Our Lady of Charity Mass, which is every year here at the Watsco Center at the University of Miami. This year, because of COVID, we're going to have it at St. Michael's. So it's going to be a smaller crowd. It's going to be at 7 p.m. But so September 8th, the big feast of Our Lady of Charity, Nuestra Señora de la Caridad, is going to be at St. Michael's this year. You're getting ready for U Catholic.
Yep, craziness is about to start.
Wow, I see
University of
Michelle and Father Tran working up a storm. We've had a lot of meetings about getting ready for the students to arrive, and I've been getting some emails from the university itself, like it's hardcore what they were trying to put in place to get ready for the kids.
Yeah, it's very exciting, and also it's going to be a semester to remember.
What do you think? Is it going to come together? Or?
I think it's going to come together,
Yeah.
and it's going to be different, like a very different experience of college life, but I think there's going to be a lot of beauty to it, and the things that they're doing are going to really help for it to be a great experience, and I'm excited.
Wow.
We're also like looking at mask to have for you Catholic, and that I never would have thought of. So I'm like, can't believe I'm looking at what kind of mask we should get for the students. It's so weird, but it's going to be beautiful.
Well, I think the masks are going to be good, and we decided to do black, right, with
Right.
orange
Orange
letters.
and green.
And we're going to donate that to the kids, because what better way to have advertisement than on your face?
Yeah,
You're walking
right on your
around,
face.
you
gotta wear
Catholic,
it, Boom. So I'm like, this is probably the best thing that we're ever going to invest in to promote ever.
Yeah, and I think that some of our parishioners are going to want to wear that.
Oh, I think it's going to be pretty sweet. People are going to want it.
Now you have a mask for this, and it color coordinates with that, so everybody has. And it's funny, the world that we're living in now, because I have a mask in my car for just in case. I have one like underneath the book stand at Mass if I forget the one that I like to wear. One on my desk.
Well, yours is easy because anything
Black.
matches with you, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So I've thought about that recently. I'm like, I should invest in a couple of different masks because I'm getting kind of bored.
Too funny. I just want to give a couple shout outs. I want to talk to you about sandwiches. We continue to feed the homeless through Mother Teresa and Camilla's house. And just the outpouring has been so beautiful. And if you go back in the kitchen, you see a lot of people are writing notes and little cards that accompany the sandwiches. We have students from Our Lady of Lourdes Academy, Columbus High School, and today, on the Feast of St. Bonaventure, the students over there at St. Bonaventure honoring their patron saint, 300 sandwiches, and then they bought like $250 worth of like hygiene stuff.
Wow,
And they
that's
drove that
amazing.
down from Weston. So
That's
just
amazing.
incredible. So I'm really grateful to the students there at St. Bonaventure. So that's a shout out. And then I want to do a shout out for Jet's Graphics. Go do your mailing and printing with Jet Graphics. They are amazing parishioners here at St. Augustine. They don't charge us. They did our 2 mailings for Lent and Advent, and now they're doing these really cool place like stickers on the floor where you need to stand for communion and also for blocking of the pews. It's like super professional, really beautiful, has our logo on it. We're gonna try to put that up after the Foster Pedroso wedding, because we're gonna take all that down, make it really beautiful. But then maybe on Monday we'll start to put some of these new stickers up. I think you'll like it. So a shout out to Jets Graphics and Mailers for all of their great donation that they do for us. I wanted to talk to you about the night of prayer. What did you think of that?
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, last Friday, as the sun was setting, adoration, praise and worship, and just a time of quiet reflection before our Lord. Like, I didn't even notice I was sweating so much, because it's pretty hot out there. But
And humid,
it
it
was
got
just
really
so
humid.
beautiful. And I think we have some amazing, epic photos of like the sun setting and the
Oh,
sky
your husband took a picture that was just amazing.
Yeah, it was
Amazing.
pretty. You'll see it on the website. I didn't put his name on it or anything. I'm like, listen.
It was incredible,
Two in
incredible.
one.
But right before it was like this downpour, this deluge that
I know, I was a
we
little
were
nervous.
thinking we're going to need Noah's Ark or Plan B to bring it into the church. But it just worked out so well. It came out beautiful, and
And to have
Justin did a
everyone
great job.
coming out of their cars
Yeah.
and like the candles, it was just beautiful. So hopefully we'll do it again. And
Yeah,
if you're
I want to
watching, that you
do
can
like
join
higher.
us.
Like I want to raise the monstrance higher. So if you want to stay in your car, you can see the
Yeah.
monstrance. We got to kind of figure out how to do it. Somebody was talking about doing it on the ledge, but then we need to bring out a ladder and all this. So we'll figure it out. I want to do something really cool.
That'd be awesome.
But yeah. And then I guess the rest of the stuff we can kind of talk about afterwards. I want to talk about Hans and Carolina. Hans and Carolina Hertel. parishioners of ours today, Carolina went, had a C-section, emergency C-section. Baby's doing great. Mom and dad are doing great. So
Awesome.
a
Praise
shout out to
God.
Carolina and Hans on their
Beautiful.
4th baby. They live here, walking distance. Wonderful parishioners. So congratulations to the new baby. So, you know, we can do good news on
I
here
like
too,
that.
you
I
know?
like that.
love
we
good
should
news.
like, you know, parishioner update news.
Yeah,
things,
so if you
glory
have good
stories.
news, send it to me. I like to post it.
And just watch out, it might show up on the screen. So be careful when you send it.
But I'd love to share the good news, our parishioner good news. So I think we're going to bring on Sean here, and I think the rest, I got some other stuff that I want to talk about, but we'll bring it in afterwards.
Okay, great.
But yeah. Yeah, I hope we do talk about the orphanage in Haiti.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Is it
that
in
part of
Port-au-Prince?
the story. No, it's in Miragwan.
Where's that?
About 4 to 6 hours, depending on traffic.
Wow,
from
the roads
from
are so bad
Port-au-Prince.
down there that anywhere in the country could take you many hours.
Yes,
But
it's so true.
all right, so we have Sean
Hello,
Forrest.
Sean.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Hey, how are you?
How are you doing?
I'm doing great.
It's nice to meet
How are you?
Good. I know you know Michelle, but it's great to meet you.
Welcome. We're
Michelle.
glad to have you.
Thanks. Good to be here.
Where are you at? What part of the country?
I'm just I'm in Nashville, Tennessee.
Nashville. I have friends in Nashville.
Oh
Excellent.
man, it's a
Yeah.
great place.
I was there in November for a wedding.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Did you officiate?
Yeah.
Wow. Did you get to hang out and see the
We
sights
did.
at all?
We went and we walked around a little bit on there's one main street. It looks like you're in like Disney World or like
Like the bar street with all the country.
yeah,
stuff. I
and they
forgot
had
the-
like one
Broadway.
country bar,
Broadway.
like Broadway. Is it? Yeah, it's called Broadway.
Broadway.
And just these shows, like one after the other, and amazing. People
Oh,
watching me
it's-
down, walking down the street in a collar. They thought I was in a costume, but one guy said, "Hey,
It's-
dude, good costume."
It's so fun. I've had priest friends come and we go downtown and it's amazing. People are just drawn to that collar, and I've seen the most incredible discussions happen in
Yeah.
a bar
Yeah.
while people are drinking beer and just like really deep. And I'm like, I'll catch you guys later in about an hour. And they just go off in this great theology. It's so fun.
Opportunity for
So it's open
evangelization.
down here. People in Tennessee don't ask what you do for a living. They ask where you go to church. So it's kind of cool.
Wow, that is cool.
That's a
Yeah.
great conversation starter. Much different.
Hey,
than
so
that.
before you came on, we were just talking a little bit about you, and Michelle talked to us about how she knows you and your orphanage down in Haiti, and some of the good work. I've been looking through your website, very impressive. And speaker, coach, musician, missionary. We want to maybe start just to tell us a little bit about you and how did you get involved in ministry, and yeah, just tell us a little bit about you.
It was real. It's, everything's a God thing, but this was really a God thing. I was in the world of secular music, writing music, performing, making a lot of money, playing really big nightclubs, singing for famous people. And after a while, it was just, it's a long story. I'm going to give you the short version, but I just had this feeling of going, all right, well, I have everything. I have lots of money. I have a beautiful home on the beach, condo on the beach. I've got cars, boats, beautiful wife. And I just asked this, I was like, is this it? Is this what we do? Do we just have fun and then die? So I was like, wow, I have everything in the world, but I'm not quite as happy as I should be. When you first get it, it's fun. It's like Christmas.
Right.
Then after day 7, you're done with your toys as a little kid and you want something else. And I just kept looking for more and more toys.
Yeah.
Our hearts are restless until they rest in thee. So I asked 3 questions. I wrote a book about it because they were so poignant to me. I said, God, are you really there? Because I was born a Baptist, but then when I went into the secular world, I kind of was everything. I checked out Buddha, Hinduism, everything,
Age.
borderline atheism, everything. So I asked the question. I really got serious about it. I said, God, do you really exist? And then I need to know, if you exist, who are you? There's all these faiths, everything, who's right, who's wrong. And then I asked, and if you exist and you have a name, why am I here? And so I went on the search for the answer to those questions, which led me to encounter Jesus. And then it was very difficult playing in bars when I'm really trying to follow God, because I made a living on being a partier.
Yeah.
I was sponsored by alcohol, different, liquors and everything. And all of a sudden I wanted to start writing songs about God and about faith and meaning. And that people didn't want to hear that when they want to just, they're like, don't make me think. Don't make me think.
Don't make me guilty. I want to have a nice
Yeah,
time.
exactly.
Yeah, not too
so
conducive to holiness, but
you're right. And so that search made me say, I had to make a decision. And so what I did is I didn't. I tried to live with one foot in the world, the secular world, and one foot in the world for Christ. And then next thing I know, I have this massive anxiety panic attack.
Wow.
And then I got crushed by anxiety, depression, just this horrible place where at the time I thought it was God cursing me, but I realized it was him saving me, saying, all right, if you're not going to make the decision, I'll make it for you.
Yeah.
And he just sat me right down. Then I had to read. And then during that reading time, I went from the Protestant church to the Catholic church, started reading church fathers, everything, asking questions, who has the truth? And then for me, once I have it, I can't completely always go back to where I was. I'm not a saint. What I'm saying is, at least I want to keep going in the direction you're supposed to, then fall back, then go forward. So I had to leave that. And then, man, the long story short, got married in Catholic church with my wife, knew the pastor there just from the wedding. And I started checking out the mass a little bit. And he came up to me. I wasn't even Catholic at the time. And he goes, I want you to be my youth minister. I was like, what are you talking about?
I'm not even Catholic.
Right. And he's like, no, God's got plans for you. I want you to be. And I'm like, I'm not sure I want to be Catholic. He's like, you will be. So they hired me.
Oh my God.
But see, that's a
awesome.
great priest because you draw people in.
Yeah, you can see something.
Oh,
You
you
can
can
see
see
what's
something.
there.
Father Thomas Lynch, just amazing guy in
Yeah, you can
Connecticut,
tell.
Stratford, Connecticut. And he's like, you're going to be a youth minister. I'm like, no, I'm not. He's like, come here, walk with me.
Bring
Next
your
thing you know,
guitar.
that's right.
Oh, wow, that's beautiful. And so God has kind of brought you to a place of being able to kind of go around the country and go around different places to speak. What are some topics that are just you're most passionate about that, I guess, from your story, it sounds like that there's so much that I'm sure the Lord has put on your heart to share with, especially our young people. What are some of those topics?
For the young people, I answer the three questions. Does God exist? How do you know? Why Jesus? Why did I convert? It wasn't because, hey, you get to drink wine as a Catholic. It was, there are other reasons. And then if this is all true, then what's that mean for you in your life? So, I was running about 80 to 90 confirmation retreats a year.
Wow.
Before I got involved in Haiti. And my main thing is I found these kids getting ready to get confirmed, but really weren't sure Jesus even existed.
Right. Yeah.
Or at least have an experience with Jesus. They heard of him, but he was just a historical figure to them. And so my thing was, let's fides et ratio. Let's feed your head and your heart with the faith and try to get you on fire about this. And then for adults, when I do like a parish mission, the two things I talk about are entering into suffering, because you're going to suffer, and helping your kids understand that too. Why does a good and loving God allow evil to happen? And what do you do when it does happen, when something bad happens to you, something bad? And the other thing is, why are people bored as Catholics today? And it has a lot to do with not entering into the suffering.
And can you talk a little bit about that? Because right now, I said before you came on that I have some people that are very close to me right now that are going through a lot of suffering because of loss in their life and different situation. And we're talking about faithful people who go to Mass and love the Lord, but they're really, truly suffering. So what do you tell people when that, and especially young adults that say, well, why do bad things happen to good people? Why is there evil?
Right. So so there's two ways to go about it, right? Then theologically and philosophically, it's like if there is no God, there is no evil, so we shouldn't be complaining anyhow. It's all subjective. Yeah. But I find that doesn't really work with a young man, with a young father who's just lost his 3-year-old to cancer.
Right.
That argument doesn't really work. So usually this is about an hour talk, so I'm going to shorten this for you the best I can. What I will say to people is I just use examples of my life. So when I went to Haiti for the first time, I just felt like God, when you read the scriptures, it's clear. God says to help the poor. You personally go help the poor. And we're all called to different areas of the poor, emotionally, physically. But I really felt to go to the poorest of the poor. So I went to Haiti. And I went to an orphanage, and when I walked in, I was just so full of fear. I'm like, I'm supposed to be here. I know it, but I don't know what I'm doing here. And I'm a musician. And I walk in, and there's about 300 kids in this giant room, and they're just not even looking or acknowledging me because the poverty was so bad that and there were so many orphans and only about 6 caretakers for 300 kids that they just sat and nobody held them. They didn't get held as kids. Nobody played with them. So they looked at you with what I call dead eyes. They just stare at you. And I'd like try to play with them, but I couldn't elicit any response or emotion out of the kids. And I thought it was going to be, hey, they're all jumping over me. It's wonderful. Yeah. Then a little boy got up. You know, I had my guitar, I was singing. Then a little boy got up. I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
So a little boy got up from across the room, and he walked over and he put his hands on his hips and he just stared at me. I don't know. He's about 5 years old. And I went to pick him up, and I was like, hey, finally I got one. And one of the directors there touched me, and he said, don't pick him up. And I said, why? And he turned him around, and he was covered with open wounds on his back, and he had scabies, which is a really contagious mite. And he goes, if you pick him up, you'll get sick. That's why we can't pick them up, because then we get sick. And I was like, oh, man. So I pet him on the head, and I said, oh, God bless you. And I started to walk away. And I got about 4 steps, and I just felt like God. It wasn't an audible voice, but I just knew God spoke to me and said, so I'll die on a cross and wear your sins and filth upon my body, but you won't pick me up because you're afraid of a rash. And this little boy was looking at me saying, I thought you said you wanted to help the poor. This is what we look like. And I just felt like God was one of those Peter getting out of the boat moments. He's like, do you really want to do this? Or do you want to come get a picture with a child and put it on Facebook and look like you're a hero? Do you really want to do this? Because when you really live the faith, it's messy. And so I just picked the kid up. He threw his arms around me. I hugged him. And then all the other kids saw this kid laughing because I was tickling him. And then they all just ran at me. Like they just woke up. And I was just hugging all these kids. And I was like, this is so beautiful. I'm going to die. This is so beautiful. and I was like covered in, I was like, oh my goodness. And I never got sick. And if I had, I tell everybody it's okay. I live in America. There's a pill for that.
Yeah, exactly.
And so what I tell people is I said, if you really want to know God, you have to suffer. I find that my closest moments, when I'm doing well, I rarely pray. Yeah. I keep going on. And then when I suffer, that's when I start talking to God and I start speaking to him. And it's interesting. It's through that suffering that you unite with Jesus on the cross. But here in America, I find we make it almost impossible to suffer in the sense of like medicines. If you're bored, we've got a cell phone. If you're hungry, we got fast food, whatever it might be.
Yeah,
we can
take a Tylenol.
Everything. So I guess, I talk to people about that. I talk about my wife and I, we've suffered 13 miscarriages. We've wanted to have a huge family. And I'll never forget when we lost our first child, my wife was so devastated. And I was like, you got to be kidding me, Lord. And just God gave me this grace moment where I picked her up. I laid her on the bed because she was having such a painful miscarriage. And I just opened up the Bible and I read Psalms to her, and she put her hand on my hand because I put it over her womb. And I just said, God, if this child must go to you, just take the pain from my wife, because she was in great physical and emotional pain. And she looked at me and she said, in my moment of suffering, you led me to our Lord. I trust you with everything I am. So in the midst of suffering, we felt God present, and we both fell more deeply in love on a deeper level we never knew was there, which we would need for this mission we are going to go on. And then lastly, what I tell people is I say, I had a gentleman come up to me, and his daughter died tragically, and he said, how can I hold on to anything with this? And I said, yeah, I can't personally give you hope, but I promise you, if you hold on to Jesus, I really believe that if you really hold on, because we're all going to die, that when you die, you're going to go up to Jesus and you're going to want to yell at him, and he's going to go, shh, and he's going to turn his shoulder, and your little daughter's going to run into your arms, and he's going to say, I love her more than you do.
Yeah.
I got this. And then you're going to see every reason why God allowed that to happen, the saving of souls, maybe even your souls, because our end goal is heaven. And then lastly, I say, remember, Jesus died. He suffered and died. He showed us how to do it and let us know it's going to happen. Why? I don't know, but we do know that he uses it, because the death on the cross is the most brutal thing that ever happened in the history of mankind, and it saved us all.
That's beautiful.
Yeah, That's beautiful.
In a short little,
Wow.
the short snippet, that's where I would go.
No, and that's powerful, and you're dead on. I mean, when we're suffering, we're aligned to Christ, where we go to Christ. When everything's good, it's hey, okay, Jesus, I'll see you. I'll pray when I have an opportunity or when it comes up. But when we're
Yeah.
in the middle of it, we're there. We're grabbing our rosary. We're on our knees. We're saying our prayers, and so there's absolute truth to take advantage of the closeness that one feels from the Lord at that time.
Yeah, yeah. That, well, at least for me, I'm not the greatest prayer. I try to be, but I think it was Chester said if something is worth doing, it's worth doing poorly. If you can't breathe well, you want to still keep taking those breaths.
That's
And
right.
same with prayer, So
Yeah, that's right. So what is your passion? What are you right now passionate about?
well, first and foremost, is my family. God has just always put this sense of urgency in my heart of making sure my kids are catechized and they know the love of Christ, and they see that through my wife and myself. So we're going on an adventure. We're missionaries. My family comes with me. We go over to Haiti. Before COVID, I was over every other month. My family would come at certain times, and we'd spend the summers there. So I'm passionate about that, and I
Now, how
truly
many
believe
kids do you have? You had 13 miscarriages, and then how many?
we have three. My son's 19, and I have a daughter who's almost 16, and a daughter who's almost 14.
Wow, so they were raised in that.
Yeah, so they've grown up as missionaries, and I've got to tell you, I just believe today that so many people are bored in their faith because they haven't been stretched. When you start sharing the gospel, when you climb a mountain, when you go feed somebody who hasn't eaten in 2 days, and you're cooking the food and washing their feet and cleaning the wounds themselves, you are so thirsty for church.
Yeah.
Because you need something. But so I've just always wanted to make sure my kids stay thirsty enough where they need the mass, not just like, I'll go to mass. It's like, I can't live without this. I can't do the things God has called me to. So helping the poor, my family, and just trying to get myself with the Lord. I'm a frequent goer of confession.
Well, that's how you stay with it.
That's how, yeah.
But yeah, you're so right. And a lot of people that are watching us may not even understand that level of poverty. And you're absolutely right, where it's unless you experience it, then you can really understand the depths of what people are suffering. And it's just incredible. And I think that Haiti is probably the poorest in this hemisphere, at least, where you really can see it firsthand.
Yeah, it's there aren't soup kitchens. It's
Right.
not, you don't call 911 when you're dying in a hut up in a hill, or you're in one of the tent cities with tens of thousands of people,
Yeah.
just with your bathrooms just right there. It's unbelievable when you witness it. But again, Mother Teresa said one of the ones she was most worried about of where her sisters were was New York City, because of the poverty of loneliness.
Right.
And I just feel like we're so busy building our resumes for this life that we're forgetting the next one. And I always tell people, like, if you died today, and you stood before the Lord, were you more interested in, I had to make sure I played every sport. So I was playing sports year long, but yet you never had a meal together, said grace.
Yeah.
Confirmation felt like graduation to you, and you don't know the name. James 1 verse 27 says, pure undefiled religion is this, to care for the widows and orphans in their affliction and keep yourself unstained from this world. And I ask people, do you know the name of an orphan? Do you know the name of a widow? So it's not a symbolic thing. It's like, he really meant go do this. And I think we kind of depend on the government to do that. And that's not what God intended. We need the help of the government, but we as individuals need to free up our time so that we're building up, our rewards in heaven more than we are here on earth.
I think she said, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think she said that the United States was like one of the poorest countries that she's ever been to.
Right.
Where that's spiritual poverty.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the poverty is much more hidden.
It's
it's
incredibly hidden.
It's hidden, but it has
Yeah.
more drastic effects on you.
Yeah. Well, she knows. I mean, God bless her.
And what would you mind sharing a little bit more about, you were talking about boredom, and I think that's actually a very hot topic right now, is that with the COVID and pandemic and the situation that we find ourselves in, maybe we weren't bored in the beginning, but I think now it's a whole new wave of boredom and just not knowing even like how to live on mission in this situation. So I don't know if you could speak a little bit more of maybe where does boredom come from, and how do you allow the Lord to bring you on mission even in a pandemic situation, what that might look like.
Yeah, well, I think people are experiencing what I experienced back in the bars of like when I had everything. After a while, I was like, wow, this isn't enough for me. And I think people are experiencing a boredom now of like, I can only watch Netflix for 10 hours a day.
Yeah,
I can't. It's like how many episodes of The Office can you watch before you go crazy? I guess a lot. So I've traveled around. I've spoken at so many colleges, churches, and the youth and men's conferences, and I just feel there's this lethargy and boredom because I say I've said that we're spiritual gluttons in America, meaning faith is, for many, not all, has been something like, I'm not feeling it. I need another good book. I'm not feeling it. I need another song, or I need another conference. I remember I had this lady come up to me, and she had her 17-year-old son, dragged him up to me and said, we love you. This is our 4th conference we've seen you. And they're like following me like people used to follow the Grateful Dead. And I go, this is the 4th one? And I go, yeah. And I look at him and he's kind of smiling. He looks all embarrassed. And I go, wow. I go, that's great, but 4. And she goes, well, we have to, because I worry about him because he gets excited, but then he just loses it again. He gets deflated. And so I got to pump him back up. And so I gently said to her, I said, do me a favor, don't bring him to another conference.
Yeah.
And she said, what? And I said, bring this kid on a mission trip, bring him to a nursing home, bring him somewhere where he can actually now take the information he has and go spread the gospel with other people. Right. And I find it rare for me to find a Catholic that's even asked their next door neighbor to go to church with them. Mm-hmm. We want to be fed, and we've got all this knowledge, head knowledge. It's like men's groups. I love them, but some of them drive me crazy. You see the guys sitting around drinking their whiskey, talking about Chesterton, and I know this, and I know this, and I know that. And I go, that's great. I go, but I would love to be a part of a men's group where you go downtown, you find the guy holding the sign that says, we'll work for food, and you say, tell you what, we'll feed you if you come and be a part of our men's group. Yeah. Obviously, you got to be prudent. You go talk to the police. Does he have a record? Is he dangerous? No, actually, he's a really sweet guy. Bring him. When you start doing that, and when you start sharing your faith, when you start feeding the poor, all of a sudden faith becomes alive because you're doing the things the apostles used to do. Now we kind of get entertained by God. So there's a boredom in that. It's like even just how many, you can watch The Passion of the Christ and start getting bored watching that movie by the 5th, 6th time. Heaven forbid. You know what I mean by that? It's beautiful.
Yeah, of course.
So now in the homes, I go, this COVID has been a curse and a blessing if you used it right. So I ask parents, can your kids explain the faith? Can they explain how you know God exists? Can they explain how do you know Jesus rose from the dead? Well, no. Can you? No. What have you read during this time in your downtime? What are you feeding your heart with? What are you sharing with your kids? Do they even know why you believe in God? Have you ever given your testimony? We're all on social media. Have you once tried to lead people closer to God or started sharing your heart? And there's just this fear of doing that. It's like, I might get rejected. I often find people when they have to give a talk about Jesus or to try to invite somebody to come know Jesus, we revert back to 8th grade being in the cafeteria. But they might say no. And I'm like, yeah, Jesus got rejected, so it's going to happen to you. But then that's when it gets exciting. So I'm like, what gifts do you have? How do you use them now during this time to help keep that flame burning in your family? So for me, I like to make videos. So I put together a whole production on the evidence for the resurrection for my kids and made it fun, made it exciting. Maybe that's not everybody's gift, but whatever it is, it's soccer. Let's talk about sports and the role that has in your faith and with your family. And have you ever prayed with your wife? Do your kids see you praying with your wife? I guess we've just had this great amount of time to fill our heads and try to get right with the Lord and remind us, oh yeah, we're going to die. You want to get motivated? Remember this, we're going to die. And then we stand before God. Yeah, we stand before God and he says, did you really love me with all your heart, mind, soul, and strength? Did you seek to know me? Did you care for my lost, my lonely, and poor? Did you sin? If you did you confess those sins? Did you receive my body? Give us this day our daily bread. And if our answer is kind of like, well, not really, buckle up.
Well, what can a parishioner do? Like they're listening to you and they're pumped listening to what you're saying. How can, someone who's in the parish who attends Mass maybe daily or goes to Mass on Sundays, how could they enact that, or how can they put that into action?
Well, again, it's going to be different for each individual. So if it's an elderly person there, I mean, I'm assuming you're praying. And now, is there a great book you haven't read yet? Is there a subject you want to know more about?
Right.
So things like that. Also get out, do a 6-foot distancing walking rosary in your community and be a witness. Yeah. Make some food and a scripture passage or something and drop it at somebody's door, a neighbor, somebody you might know well enough where you've just waved. And I mean, talk about now getting a gift basket from somebody that you're like, wow, that's incredible. So I guess it's like, Lord, what do you want me to do during this time? Like even thinking to say, come Holy Spirit, inspire me. What do you want me to do with this time I've been given? How do I let other people know who you are and what you want of them? So I think we just have to take that moment and pray and ask the Holy Spirit to lead us to that place. And remember that each one of us have a story to tell. I always tell people, write a page a day and you've got your life story to hand on to your kids. Elderly people, the greatest gift you can do, because you are such a gift to us with your history and your knowledge, I beg of you, write your story. Yeah. I wish I had my fathers, and I wish I had my grandfathers and my great-grandfathers to help me know, where did I come from? What's my lineage? Wow. There was so much that my dad would give us bits and pieces, but he died before he could get it all down for us. So a page a day. Who did you first fall in love with? When did you first encounter Jesus? What was your first heartbreak? How did you deal with suffering? We have an elderly home at Haiti 180. We have 16 elderly people in there. It was going to be hospice care where they go die, but the kids from the orphanage came over, started playing with the elderly. The elderly got excited, started reading to the kids, and they didn't die. So we made it a nursing home. God writes the best stories. But we bring missionaries over, and they sit at the feet of the elderly and they'll ask them questions. Are you afraid to die? And the answers that come from them, the missionaries will be in tears going, it's so beautifully simple. And so if you're elderly thinking, well, what do I have to share? Who you are is what the church needs. Your
so
story.
Much to share. Yeah, treasure.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's
yeah,
so
if you
understand
understand it like that, there's no room for boredom. It's stepping outside of myself, out of the selfishness and the ego, and really be there for the other. Talk to us a little bit about your music, your love for music, your passion for music. How does that now play? You went from secular to now your ministry, but how does that play in how you preach and teach and evangelize?
Well, it's interesting. All those years of being on stage and performing in front of people, it's great how there's a saying, God writes straight with crooked lines. It's really neat how he's used all that stage presence to allow me to do that now for, a group of people who are like, no offense, but when I come to a church to do a parish mission on a Saturday night at 7:00 and there's a baseball game, it's a rough crowd.
It's a rough crowd. Tell me about it.
I got chicken wire in front of me so people won't throw things, So the music is a great icebreaker, especially when I get to share my story. And people can kind of put a wall up against speakers, but it's hard to put a wall up against a song.
Right.
A melody can sneak in there. One chorus of a song can touch your heart. So I went from being a secular musician to, playing out and doing I was a singer-songwriter first in the Catholic world, and then became a speaker, then became the Haiti guy. Now I'm the Haiti guy, singer guy. But, I really think music's a difficult thing to block from somebody. So it's for me, it's just been an essential tool to be able to reach people.
Wow.
That is so true. I think like
Yeah.
God has gifted you with kind of that that happy medium to be able to open the heart for the message of the gospel. Because you're right, music is a way that kind of elevates and moves the human spirit without you really thinking about it, right?
Yeah.
So especially for youth, like to be to use your gifts in that way is really dynamic. And I would love for you to share a little bit about the Haiti 180. Just kind of, I know your orphanage is set up. It's the way that it's structured is very different than a lot of orphanages I've been to. Would you mind just sharing just where that vision came from and a little bit about your mission?
Well, so our mission is to create future leaders of faith for the country of Haiti. So we don't adopt out because we want these kids to stay there and nourish the country with what they've learned and the blessing, because most of them would be dead now had God not rescued them through this. So they understand there's a gratefulness there, especially as they get older, of saying, all right, God, you rescued me here. Help me rescue the other people here. And adoption's wonderful, but the mission God has given me and my wife was like, no, let's create future leaders of faith. So there are orphanages with hundreds of kids, and that's a beautiful thing. But mine was, let's keep it at a place where it's more, we call it a home for former orphans. Because when you go there, it doesn't feel like an orphanage. There's just a lot of love, laughter, prayer. We have a beautiful chapel with the Blessed Sacrament our bishop let us have right on our property, right next door. So there's morning prayer, afternoon, evening prayer, catechesis, and we have, and we have a beautiful school with 400 students in there, a beautiful Catholic school. So they're getting it at home, they're getting it at school. And then we have the elderly home, which I told that story, how that came about to be with the orphans. And we have a medical clinic that cares for about 2,000 people in the surrounding villages. And when I say medical clinic, we have, they can get vaccinations. We've got x-rays, we got dental care, eye care. We're going to have a cardiology unit there. So it's really a fascinating thing. This was all just cornfields. And, when God wants to get something done, he's got to get it done with you or without you. You just got to decide if you want to be a part of where God's moving. So I'm just so happy to even just get on it. But our main thing is, man does not live by bread alone. If we feed them, but we fail to tell them the gospel, we have failed the people, because a lot of them can't read, they can't write, they're up in the mountains. So when we go on mission, we go on mission. I will tell people, make sure you get your story ready about why you are on mission and your story about Jesus, because you're going to share the gospel with people. I'll have people, I want you to act out Peter walking on the water. I want you to think of how you can convey this. I've had people come and do those tent puppetry for everybody, doing the gospels, and they're just amazed because they're brilliant people when given the chance, but they haven't had the chance to read or write. They're just trying to survive every day and find food. So when we go up, yes, we're going to feed, we're going to bring you some water, we're going to cook and sit right down. We'll literally cook a meal for you right there and sit with the families. And then they trust you because you didn't just come and say, do you know Jesus and are you saved? And
you brought Jesus in a briefcase.
Yeah, right. Exactly. It's like, I'm going to spend the week coming back because I'm going to see you tomorrow night. I'm going to hang out. We might help you do this and that, but I want to talk to you about faith. So it's true in the sense of mission, meaning, faith isn't just about feeding other people. Get your heart right with the Lord. Get yourself holy with the Lord, and then share that with other people. So it's not a watered down faith in any way, shape, or form. We're really there proclaiming the gospel and inviting them to come down to receive Eucharist. Before we got there, they would go to Mass maybe once every 2 years because there were no priests. Now we have adoration, daily Mass. God is just, the story He's written is incredible.
And how's your Creole? Parle Creole?
Oui, parle Creole. Vous parlez Creole tout?
Oui, parle Creole.
Ah, moi pas connais ça. OK, nous qu'à parler ensemble.
That's awesome. So, does anyone live on campus? Any of the kids live on campus?
I'm so sorry. When you say campus,
like at the orphanage, because is it somewhere where they go, like you said, 400 kids come to your school, but there's people, some of the orphans that live on at the facility, or?
Yeah, so 36 kids live at our orphanage.
Okay.
And then 400 kids around the villages come to our school.
That's excellent. Wow.
Yeah.
Powerful.
We have 85 Haitian employees. We have 18 teachers. So it's the kids get a lot of individual attention. They'll speak 3 languages when they graduate.
That's amazing.
So
Wow.
important. Wow,
Yeah.
that's God's work.
And
Amen.
Sean,
Amen.
through all your involvement in even like Haiti 180 and just the journey that God has brought you through, what has been just main moments that you have kind of felt your own heart kind of stretch and grow? And I don't know, is there any
Or even
wisdom that you
challenged.
can
Yeah.
kind of share, wisdom that you've experienced along the way, just in this new part of your journey?
I'm pretty open about this. I hope this. Don't be afraid when I use the word. I hope it doesn't shock people, because people think when you run an orphanage or have done this work that you're like Mother Teresa, and I'm sitting on the roof having a beer, smoking a cigar, going, "Oh Lord, you gotta rescue me from this." But,
Yeah.
I would say for me, this is really challenged my inner fear, my lack of trust in the Lord. I think when I see Jesus face to face, he's going to say, even to the end, you still didn't completely trust me, did you? So challenge me and he'll let me crash when I get lazy in my prayer life. I remember my spiritual director, I was going to Haiti and I'd done these mission trips, and I was speaking at churches, and I came back and he looked at me. He knew me so well, and I told him of my accomplishments, and he says, "You speak so well of the Lord, Sean. I can't wait for you to know him again." And I fell apart and I just started weeping.
Yeah.
Because I can get very caught up in the works and forget the personal devotions that I need in my own life. And then I crash and I'm back in confession again. So I think it's the Holy Spirit has shown me how much this is God's work. There's a saying, right? I hope everybody's got a sense of humor. If the Lord can't find a colt, he'll use an ass.
I have heard that.
And it really, and I don't say that so people will go, "Oh no," it's just, I know myself. I know that this is all God, because there's no way I could do this unless God sent the people into my life that were necessary for this to happen and give me the wife that I have. And it's truly his work. So, and it's amazing. Even though I know that, it's still scary to completely submit and say, "I'm ready to die for you, Lord." It's just that's God's revealed that to me.
Yeah, and I think that it's only in our humility and poverty that we can really grow in holiness. And you're absolutely spot on. But I want to thank you for joining us tonight. I want to go on mission with you now.
Yes, the borders are opening up. We'll be able to go, and we'll be able to go in like October, November. Things will be back to normal. So, but I'd love to have you.
I would love to go on mission. Yeah, that would be awesome. I would love to go. But I want to thank you for spending time with us tonight and giving us just a little glimpse of your life and the great work that you're doing and for the kingdom. And I encourage anyone who's watching us to go to Sean Forrest website and look him up. Fascinating, just incredible talk, and so thankful for your presentation tonight.
Yeah, and thank you for your courage just in continuing to follow the Lord, and especially be open to the grand adventure that he's taken you on. Yeah. It's really beautiful to hear. Could
I ask something?
Yeah.
Sure.
If anybody's out there and they're like, "What can I do?" I would just ask if there's somebody out there. If you'd think of me in your prayers, I truly need prayer, because I'm not a holy man trying to do a holy work. And if you would pray for me, I would be so grateful.
Well, you got it. So we're going to do that tonight. Parish of St. Augustine's is going to pray for Sean Forrest tonight. So
thank you. I need it.
Well, thanks for being with us, and we will see you, because I know Michelle loves Haiti and she has a passion for it, as I do, and we will visit you. So
definitely. And your layover, usually, if it's in Miami,
you're always welcome.
Stay overnight, hang out.
I would love to. Anytime, have me come down to your parish, speak about Haiti. Anything. I would love to meet everybody. Absolutely.
Excellent. So thanks for being with us.
Thank you,
God
Sean.
bless you.
God bless you both. I really had a great time. Thank you.
Take care.
Bye, Michelle. Bye, Father.
Take care. Yeah, so let's go. Pack your bags.
I'm in. Take me with you.
I think that the way he was able to explain how he talks to people who are suffering and who have doubts, and I thought that was very beautiful and well done. you could tell it's obviously someone who goes around and speaks to young adults, to teenagers, and we got a lot of work to do.
Yeah. I mean, he's just like a man's man. I don't know, like as he's
Yeah.
talking, like I don't know, he knows himself, he's not afraid of himself, and he's also has his heart set on the kingdom.
Yeah.
And I love the way that he shared was very revealing of who he is. And
I like what you said
Right.
that, because I think that a lot of the guys in our parish would like to hang out with him. You know, maybe smoke a cigar and be on the
I
roof.
know, right when he
and-
said that, I was like, he belongs in Miami.
Yeah, he belongs to Miami. I could
He
get you a
found a good-
group to get that going, but
Oh my
we
God.
got about 10 minutes. I just want to go over a couple things. Our care packages that we sent out, excellent. Thank you for doing that, and reaching the community, going out. We're getting just responses of people, how touched they are by our prayer cards and the different little tokens and things that we do include in the care packages, and we're going out there. So I want to thank you, because you head that out, and we're really reaching the community. We're inviting them to come and celebrate the sacraments with us, and just introducing them to St. Augustine's and asking them for prayers and to join us to join our community. So thank you for all that you do with the care packages. I know you guys were busy today, and
Praise God, it's a joy. It's a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We have an awesome team.
I
That's
think
what makes
that
it all
young
work.
adults like that.
Yeah, they love it. They love being able to come together, work hard, and then do like the small things that will help bring joy and a reminder of God's love to people.
It's
So.
amazing. You guys are doing great work. Something that I do want to talk about that's very serious is that we need to be vigilant. We need to hopefully help me to take care of the property here at St. Augustine. Just this week, Good Shepherd there in Kendall, someone came and chopped off the head of the statue of the Good Shepherd, a beautiful statue that they had. They cut the head off. Just horrible. And so there are a lot of not just, how can I say this, so delicate, but just evil, just really bad stuff going on. And even with the church in Ocala being burned. And so I ask that, most especially, we have the doors open to the Blessed Sacrament Chapel, that if you're out, that you're just, there's always someone around, that we're just vigilant and we're protecting our property. So that's kind of a little bit scary, but I just want everybody to kind of keep your eyes, see something, say something kind of thing. But thanks for that. Bless's Kitchen is tomorrow, and I'm excited about it. We're having, guess who my guest is? Well, you saw it on the website.
Are you going to be cooking something that's You're not gonna
Vietnamese?
give us a
Father Tran is my guest tomorrow, and I'm looking forward to it. I think we're gonna have a great conversation. I'm gonna ask him a lot. I'm gonna ask him about his vocation. How did he, when the idea about priesthood came into his mind, and being a student at University of Miami, graduating from the University of Miami, and then being a campus minister at the University of Miami. So it's gonna be
That's
great.
gonna be amazing.
So, yeah.
That's gonna
So
be
join
great.
us for the University of Miami.
and feed him well.
Yeah, I'll feed him well. I don't know what we're doing, but I think that we haven't had any complaints yet. Nobody's gotten sick from my cooking or from some of the other cooking. So I think that's going to be great. And then next week, we have some special guest. Michelle and Assis will join us. So Michelle's been telling me, hey, when are you going to invite me to that Bless's Kitchen?
Where's my food?
Where's my
Where's my
invitation?
glass of wine, yeah?
So next week, watch out. Michelle and Assis are going to join us for Bless's Kitchen. So let's see. Something that we've been doing at the parish that I've been loving, and we have couples that are 50-year anniversary, and we've had I think 4 now. I had 125 and 350th, and they've been renewing their vows at
That's
Mass.
beautiful. I was there at one of those.
You're one of
masses.
them?
I love that.
People
Oh my
love
gosh.
it. They write me emails and tell me how much they love to see that. And it's, again, celebrating the life of a parishioner, getting to know them and saying, wow, 50-year marriage. And it's something to celebrate. So if you have a 50th coming up or a 25, let me know, because we want to embarrass you and bring you up to the altar and have you renew your vows there in front of everybody, because we need your witness. And I think that that's great that you do that.
Especially for right now, I think that's a great witness
Yeah.
of all, especially the young people, because we live in a 50% divorce rate age, and so to see that, I know I was just like, oh my gosh, this is awesome,
I know.
And then also just it can it can happen, it can be done, and it's beautiful, and it's something
It
to
is.
celebrate and not be shy about.
We
so.
need to celebrate it, and we need to and it needs to be public, and we need to be there and witness your renewing of your vows. So.
And the Kiss the Bride thing at the end was my favorite. Whatever one I went to,
One,
at the end I was just like, yeah!
Were you at the one where they mask to mask?
Oh no,
No?
I don't think they had masks on. That's hilarious.
They kissed
though.
on the lips, but they both kept their masks on, so that was beautiful.
That's so funny. COVID style.
Where we're living, you know. I wanted to share with you. I've been so patriotic lately since the July 4th Mass, and I think a little bit about my homily. I really got into it. I like the way that homily came out on July 4th, that whole July 4th weekend. But I started to reread 1776 by David McCullough. I don't know if you've read his books. He wrote 1776 and John Adams. And I'm actually watching John Adams. It was a series that HBO did a couple of years ago, and I never watched it. And I'm watching it now, and I love it. And I'm rereading 1776, and I have to tell you, sometimes I'm like wanting to go home to start reading, and I'm like, no, you got to do your work. You got to do things. I'm like dying to go home to read a little bit about 1770. So if you want a good book for this summer, if you're getting away, maybe a week or 2 weeks, or you're going on a honeymoon soon, hint, hint, maybe take 1776. That's a good read. And also John Adams. Anything that Dave McCullough has done is just wonderful, and he's a great writer. Well, no, they're historical nonfiction, and I think that he does a beautiful job in kind of telling the story of this country's founding fathers, and I've just been drawn to it. And I've read 1776 before, and I'm reading it again, and I want to read John Adams afterwards, since I'm watching the series. So if you want to watch it on HBO, you can go ahead and watch it. So. And then there's one more, which I don't have the image for it, but something that I saw recently. It was just by chance, and I don't know if you've seen it, but Zac Efron. I don't know if you know that actor. Maybe you do. He was like from maybe 90s or something, but like a teeny bopper guy. But Zac Efron on Netflix has this show. It's called Down to Earth, and he goes with this other guy. It's like a wellness expert, whatever that is, but I think they're talking about like healthy living and stuff. But they did this show where they went to Lourdes, France, to the apparition site there in Lourdes, and it was a job well done. And they had this interview with the doctor who does, he's the main doctor that
investigates like miracles that happen.
Right,
or?
so the miracles, if anybody has documentation or wants to document a miracle, he's the one that they go through. Wow. And they were kind of, it was funny because at the beginning they really upset the guy storms off, and they're like, we've really upset this guy, we got to make this right. But then he comes back and does a really beautiful job explaining what he does and the miracles and what it does it take to be classified as a miracle. But I would watch it. It's on Netflix. It's called Down to Earth. And watch the show where they show Lourdes, France. If you've never been to Lourdes, it really has a beautiful way of understanding what is Lourdes, and they talk a little bit about Saint Bernadette and what happened at Lourdes. So, that's Down to Earth, Zac Efron.
Awesome.
And let's see, anything else you want to talk about?
I
want to talk about the forum.
Okay.
Can you talk about that?
So on this coming Monday, July 20th, we have the opportunity. It's called A Night to Listen, Black Voices Share, and it's a night of some of our brothers and sisters in our Black community here are going to be sharing a little bit of their experience, and also it's a night to share, to pray, and to really hear some of their stories, and to come together as a community to be with them. So it's going to be a really beautiful night, and I'm so grateful that we have this opportunity to do that as a community, and to give that space for sharing of just life experiences, and it'll be beautiful. So 8:15 on Monday. And
it'll be live streamed, so you can participate on live stream.
Yes. So there's information on our website, and then also this weekend we'll make an announcement at the masses to invite you to join us on live stream.
And then this Saturday we're going to do our drop-off, our homeless, to help our homeless, the pantry that we do for the homeless. And so if you can, with any dry perishables, put them in your car, in a bag or a box, and then just pop your trunk. We'll have volunteers that take it out, and we're trying to restock our pantry for our homeless ministry.
And you can do care packages for the homeless. So
What
pantry
is that?
items
What is
or non-perishable items or a homeless
So you did
care
a little
package.
show and tell.
So yes, they were dropped off today, and I walked into my office, and there's amazing. They even included a mass follower. I was like,
Wow.
So beautiful.
Who
There's,
did that?
I don't know, but if you're watching,
Thank you.
amazing job. So there's tons of these. They're very beautiful. So these will go. There's different things in here like soap and Kleenex and snacks and things for the homeless. So amazing.
Well, that's our show for tonight. I want to thank Sean Forrest for coming on. Amazing. If you're suffering, if you're dealing with loss and you're lost or you're bored, use this time to draw closer to the Lord and know that the Lord walks with you. And it is in our poverty, in our humility that we can surrender to God. And you see that His hand in all of this, but you just have to trust. And trust that it will get better. But it's by truly a life of prayer and drawing closer to Him. So stay close to your parish, stay connected to Christ, and be safe. And we'll see you next week. God bless. Take care. Thanks, Michelle.